guys, what's up? This is Arubiti from Designhill, and I will be your host for today's webinar on the topic of agile mindset and leadership management. Needless to say that these issues are currently in top need right now because of this huge paradigm shift in work culture and leadership needs to involve. And to find a roadmap for it, we have with us the guest for today, Mia. And the full name is Mia Kolmodin from Dandy People, Sweden, a multi-talented executive UI and UX designer. Hi, Mia. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm good.
Thank you so much for joining. So, Mia, go ahead and say a big hi to the audience and introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. I'm a former designer, actually. I started designing websites and digital stuff around 20 years ago. And for the past 10 years, I've been working as an agile coach and transforming organizations. So that's what I'm going to talk about today.
Great, Mia. Thank you so much. Welcome on board. Thank you. And guys, this event is brought to you by Designhill's world's largest creative marketplace, which caters to the creative needs of businesses of every size. And we have our presence over 180 countries. And guys, let me have a walkthrough over the format of the talk. Mia will share a presentation with you after this, and then we will have a short break. And post that, we will take up your questions. So just a reminder to everyone that you can see the question tab there on the screen. So please, a request to put down all your questions just on the question tab so that we do not miss out your precious questions. Okay, Mia, so go ahead. We are ready for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to talk about agile mindset and leadership to navigate in complexity because the world is getting more and more complex and at high speed. So this is where we are today. So for many people, of course, it might be difficult to see and understand what the user is supposed to do and how maybe the work that you do connects to the user. Either you might be too deep into the details, so you don't really see the full picture, or you might be working very high on strategic level and you don't really understand and see and connect to the user. So the user is somewhere in the funnel, and you can see the light at the end. So what it tells that maybe you're not organized in a way so that you handle complexity and high speed in a good way. So missing the target. And that could be something that happens over and over again, of course, and a big scale. So you fail a lot and not really know if you deliver value with what you actually deliver continuously during the day. And maybe that it feels like it's more important to actually stick to the contract or what you promised beforehand. So delivering on a plan is much more important than actually taking in feedback from customers continuously and changing and adapting the plan. And maybe it feels like you have maybe projects and things moving in different directions, pulling you as an individual towards different directions. And maybe you're involved in too many things, and maybe you don't really see how this connects to the same vision or where you're going. And it could be that you're always occupied in meetings, and maybe your colleagues as well. So when are we supposed to actually deliver on what we're talking about all the time? And this is a box that I found at one of my customers in the beginning when I started there as an agile coach. And this is the box where they kept improvement suggestions and innovation suggestions. So of course, if you don't have an innovation process and or an improvement process that works in a really good way, of course, not much is going to happen. And this is a very inefficient way, of course, to handle things. And maybe new players are starting to surface and they might deliver value to the users in a better way that you are doing. So the customers choose someone else instead of you. So you have become the snail and the sharks are coming to get you. And it might be also that you as an individual and the people working in the organization might feel out of order. So you get stressed because of this over a long period of time and maybe check out and don't really feel engaged or actually get burned out and feel sick. So why is it like this? What is going on? So a lot of times, too many people are actually involved in delivering value. So as we see here, we might see that 3 people, then we have 3 contact lines, 5 people, 10 contact lines, 6 people, 15, and 7 people, 21 contact lines. And if we work in teams, in agile teams, we might say that we want to be 5 to 7 people. And this is because of that, because we don't want to have too many contact lines going on to be able to deliver value. But in projects, if you work in a project-based organization, then you might have, as it says in the bottom, 14 people, of course, involved in delivery. That's not very uncommon, right? Then you have 91 contact lines. So this, of course, takes a lot of time, and you get involved in a lot of meetings, and it's very difficult to actually be in contact with that many people all the time. And we might not have focus, so we do a lot of task switching. If we are focused on one thing only in our team and as individuals, we have 100% focus and we deliver 100% value on our day. But if we are involved in 5 different projects and 5 different things, only 20% of the time we put in is actually delivering value. The rest is only task switching. So we have to remember what we did the last time. We need to look back and find out the details, and maybe we have forgotten. So this might happen a lot. This is what happened to me before I started to work at it, because I was working at an agency and I had 7 different customers at the same time. I played different roles. I was the project manager, I was the UX lead, the art director, and I was coaching everyone to start to work agile, which of course, obviously we weren't. And this was too much for me, so I felt really useless. I didn't really deliver value. So this was why I felt useless, not because I was a useless person, because I'm not, and you're not either. And we are usually grouped. So I'm just going to skip through the slides again then, what we actually looked at. So these are the things that we've talked about. This was the snail that you didn't see them. And why is it like this? And task switching. And then we came to, so we are grouped in divisions and competency areas and functions, usually in our organization, which means that we can't really take ownership for delivering value. We can take ownership only for that part, which we have competency for in our group, and as an individual usually. So this means that we have to have all of these people delivering together before we actually see customer value. We, as individual, as a group, can't really see what brings customer value. And we have a lot of work situations, of course, today as well with COVID-19, where we don't really sit together with the people that we work with. But we need to do that, right? We need to find ways to collaborate even though, and we need to find an optimal way to actually work together. But a lot of times that's not what has been prioritized, and maybe that's not a situation that we can fix either. And only 5% of people in organizations today understand the vision of where we're going. So why are we doing this? And the business strategy. And of course, this is really scary numbers. And you might wonder, why is it like this? Of course, it has to do with that it's difficult for people to understand and look and see. And it's a big gap between the people doing the work up front with the customers and the people creating the strategies. So we are too far away from each other, and that's causing these problems. And of course, then no one can really see the big picture, where we're going. What are the different roads that we can take that leads to where we want to be? And if you can't really see the road, it's very difficult to make smart moves and tactical decisions along the way. So, of course, the organization is not optimized for speed and flexibility, but for control. So this is an old organization, 150 years old, if not older. And of course, we decide and make big plans up front, budgets for maybe a year, maybe sometimes 5 years. And these are often very fixed. And then we, of course, control and make sure that we follow this plan and deliver on the plan. And there's usually no way to adapt and change because it's already been decided, and this is what we got the budget for. So people working frontline with the customers and actually learning about the customers and interact with them and learn as they go along what actually the customer needs, they can't change the plan. So this is, of course, a big problem. And then if we want to change the plan, we probably have to go up in the hierarchy in the organization and then maybe down again to be able to talk to the people working in the next silo. And as we know, delivering value happens across the organization. So this is very tricky in a traditional organization. So what can we do to fix this? Of course, there are many things we can do. First of all, we should make a decision that we don't want to be this snail. We want to be a shark. We want to be fast, flexible. We want to really take on the challenges that we meet and do it in the best way possible. And this is a business decision. Even though we as an individual want to do this, this is an actual business decision. And then actually get customer focus, not just talk about it. So mobilize the brain power in the organization enables everyone to do the work that needs to be done to be able to deliver value to the customer. And always keep in mind what the customer needs. So what the customer wants is much more important than what we as an internal organization and based on our processes. So we always have to keep in mind, so what will happen with the customer if we will do this? Will it be good for them? That's much more important than will it be good for us? And enable collaboration and teamwork. So this is a picture where people sit together in the same room. If you can't work in the same room as it is right now, you work from your home, then you need to find maybe digital ways to make this happen, collaboration tools, understanding where you're going and what the pains are that you want to solve, working together, solving those problems and figuring out what works best, and get feedback from real customers. Maybe do usability testing online instead of face-to-face. So you have to shift towards actually solving the problem and working together as a team, even though it's online. And climbing the customer-focused stairs. Of course, this is something that we need to do. And at the bottom here, you could see that it's UX hostility. So UX, of course, means user experience. And if you are down here on the bottom step, then you think that users should adapt to the system. So you have the mandate and the power and the knowledge to decide what should be done and not done, and how the user should interact with your system. So we know what the customer needs. We are the experts. And if you move up, then you have development-based UX. So there's an interest for UX, but you focus more on delivering what's already been planned. So you might make the big plans, and then you add some nice looking designs on top of it. But you don't really change the plan based on new learnings. We were on this stairs where we have UX hostility in the bottom, development UX at step number 2, and UX guerrilla style on step number 3, which means that you've got sporadic UX activities going out, meeting the customer and getting feedback on something that we've already done and planned. But it's very difficult to get strategic, make strategic decisions based on this, and to actually use the learnings at a bigger scale. And then we have organized UX work on step number 5, where UX is a competency and not a role, and where we try to have that in all teams where it's needed, and usually it's needed quite heavily across the organization. And we might get a UX or customer interaction, customer experience lead, coaching and supporting others in the organization. And when we are on step number 6, we might see that we have systematic CX processes, customer experience processes. And it's formalized work and highly prioritized in the organization. So this is something that we spend time and money on to actually enable this across the organization. It has to do with the business strategy. And on step number 7, we have integrated customer experience. So all teams have missions and they work with service design, and it plays a key role in everything that we do. The system itself, the organization and the structure and everything that we do supports self-service also in design and customer experience. And this is something that I will share later in the presentation. And then on step number 8, we have customer experience that permeates everything. So this is where we take in the view of the customer in everything that we do. We organize around the customer, and we make sure that we deliver value with what we do, instead of doing handovers and doing other things that might not actually deliver value to the customer. So this is something that I will show later in the presentation as well. And I hope it works now so that you can see the slides. I'm sorry for this. So, of course, we need to create an organization that's fit for the 21st century, where we keep the customer at focus and where we actually use the brain power of the people in the organization to solve the problems of the customer, not work focusing on internal processes and dependencies and politics. So instead, focus on the customer. And of course, then we need to shift our teams, we need to shift our leadership, and we need to lead with vision in the organization. So agile and customer focus is a business strategy. So this needs to be something that the executives and the leadership work with and enable across the organization. And it needs to be for everyone. So we'll talk a little bit about business agility. So how can executives and leaders support this in the organization? So first, we need to shift from the ownership focus, which is a short-term focus, to customer focus. So this is a shift that needs to be made, because if you have customer focus, you will get good results in the organization, and you need to support people to do that work. But if you focus on the ownership focus, you're never going to get towards customer focus. And you need to go from detailed user bodies, of course, to work with the purpose and a vision. So where we're going and why we're doing this. This is what people will get really engaged in and want to work with, not following a plan and a detailed budget. And move from focusing on control to focusing on trust and learning instead. So continuously have this fail-safe environment and build teams and organization where people can innovate and test things and say what they need to say to make things happen, and to always work with the customer, of course, in focus. And focus on learning, because learning is what's going to bring you forward, and you need to bring learning into your everyday work. It's not something that you do in a training or a webinar, it's something that you actually do all along in your work. And then moving from focus on resource optimization to focus on flow optimization. So getting things out to the customer as soon as possible. That's what actually matters, because that's when you're going to get feedback on things that you've done. And that's when you get the learning. So optimize everything in the organization for flow. And then moving from detailed decisions that maybe are made too early, maybe by the wrong people, to data-driven decisions made autonomous in the teams. So move decisions down as much as possible and enable everyone to have the data available so that they can make really good decisions. And of course, leaders, they will make decisions, executives, on where we want to be and where we should go and what to focus on. But then move all other decisions as far down as possible. So let's talk a little bit about leadership for agility. Leading with a vision and creating leaders. This is what we need to do, as we talked about previously. And actively support change initiatives. So when something needs to happen, maybe you have a conflict, maybe you have something that's not working, then we need to adapt and change that. And those people working closest to what needs to change needs to get support to do that. So instead of having someone doing it for them, support them to do it. So empowering employees and teams is what we need to do, and empower them to do what's most important for the organization and for the customer. And create and build this safe to fail environment, so where people can be themselves, where they can work together, say what needs to be said, and focus on delivering value. And optimizing the whole system and removing impediments. Of course, this is what needs to be done, and leaders and managers needs to do this, fix the system and not the people. And prioritize sustainable change. So maybe not having too many things going on at the same time. So focus on what's most important. And if you need to change focus, stop what you're doing and focus on that thing instead, not putting more things on top of that. And enable that insights leads to action quickly. And this usually, when I've worked as a UXer and UX team and as a UX manager as well, I've seen so many learnings and understandings about the user that stays with the UX team or with the designer, because there's no one there to take action on these things. These learnings that we have. And we need to enable that to happen continuously. That's why we shouldn't push a detailed plan, but we should enable people to learn as they move along and then make decisions based on the new learnings. And then within the teams. So if we can set a mission for a cross-functional team, we can help them to solve problems for the customer. So we start by saying that we need to have a mission for the team, and we need to be cross-functional. And what does cross-functional mean? To me, it means that we have the people with the skills that we need to deliver value. So anyone who is needed, of course, a UX, a designer, a developer, some people with those skills needs to be in the team. And we need to enable us to become T-shaped people. So that means that we have one focus, something that we're really good at, but we should also develop and learn other things so that we can collaborate with others in the team, work on what's most important. And sometimes it's not what I'm the expert on, but it brings value if I can help and do other things as well. So all the things that needs to be done in the team, we all help out to do. And that might be that other people than myself also learn to do some design tasks, also learn to do usability testing and other things. And I help them to learn that by sharing my knowledge and bringing them into my work. And we have teams with a mission and an opportunity map to prioritize the processes. So instead of working with a detailed backlog and things that need to be done, we focus on prioritizing one hypothesis that we think leads to improve on our mission that we have. And when we have that hypothesis, we start to learn more about that as a team. And we do discovery and delivery in the team continuously. So we have continuously work going on, learning more about the user, making prototypes, testing, learning, and delivery continuously. And we can make data-driven decisions. So we can meet the customer, we can do A/B testing, we can do a lot of different things to get data around customer behaviors and customer needs and what's actually working, and make decisions based on that. And of course, creating one organization. So instead of having business and IT, where IT is just a cost and business has all the money and make all the decisions, we might start with actually creating this X kind of thing, which becomes a shark, because we believe that's the only way to make us quick again. But instead, if we can just bring the whole organization in and become quick together, that's going to help us also in the future. So reorganizing our organization based on who our customers are and what we need to do will help us bring the whole organization into the future. And we can accelerate and we can move fast. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples how we can connect teams to the customer. So if we have a customer journey now, it's not going to unfold the way it usually does, but let's say we have a customer journey with customers moving across using our products and services. And then we can put teams to take responsibility for different parts of the customer journey. We can also have teams taking responsibility for different products. A product is something that the customer buys. The customer journey, you could say, is like the rails where all customers flow through. And you want to have a good user experience across all different steps and all different contact points that you have, the different touch points. So it's really important that we look at the whole customer journey as such, and we take responsibility as teams for those. And when we do priority and planning for teams in such an organization, you might want to have, of course, autonomy and alignment. So autonomy means that our teams can move and make decisions by themselves and deliver value. And alignment means that we understand what others are doing and we know where we're going as an organization and together with other teams. So we can align our plans and our planning. And we know that all teams have 100% and also individual. We have 100% time, right? It just depends what we want to do with that. So instead of doing task switching, having 5 things ongoingly at the same time and maybe only have 20% to deliver value, you might look at it like this and say, okay, so we might have company bets to spend across the organization, which means that everyone needs to help out to delivering this. That might be a deadline. Could be something legal happening that we need to make sure to meet. And this is pushing down things in the organization. So this is maybe removing the innovation that we might want to have. This creates alignment. And if we create missions for teams, we give them an assignment to take care of a product or a part of the customer journey, which could be getting more customers in. And once they start to onboard, they also start to use our products. We could set maybe a target for how many customers we want to actually get started and using our products. That could be a mission for a team. Then create autonomy for teams to innovate and to learn continuously. And then, of course, teams also need to help other teams. This is something that many people forget. But in team-based organization, of course, you need to collaborate and work with other teams. So we need to have time to take in work from other teams and help them. And sometimes maybe one team's assignment, mission, or deadline is much more important than ours. And then we need to help them to reach that because we work as an organization to help our customers. And then we need to take care of what we actually deliver, keeping the lights on. So that's something that all teams do as well. So instead of handing over something that we did in innovation team or something to someone else to have the maintenance on, we do the maintenance continuously in our team, which makes us do it at much better quality, of course, and take care of our products and services and our customers ongoingly and continuously. So this creates a much more value-focused and flow-based organization where we can continuously work and improve on everything that we do. So these are things that you can keep in mind if you're prioritizing and helping teams to deliver value as teams and as an organization. And one thing that usually pops out in these kind of discussions when you have team-based organizations is, can we clone maybe someone which has a very specific competence, maybe the specialist, or maybe we only have 2 UX designers, so what can we do? Can we clone those people? How are we else going to support all these teams? So of course you cannot clone Lisa. It's not possible. We don't really do that with humans. Maybe if she was a sheep, that would have been possible. But instead we can create functions. We can create, actually, I'm going to pop into this one instead now when I can do that. We're going to create service teams. So we can have service teams which supports all the rest of the teams to work with this design, for instance. So we have a design ops team that has a mission to support all other teams when it comes to design and doing the maybe user experience work and doing user research or what it might be, and creating design frameworks or different things. So this teams enables everyone else to work with design. So maybe Lisa sits in this team and then she helps all other teams to get a bit of that competency across the teams instead of saying that we need to have an individual to do that work. So if we move back to this one, here we see 4 different teams and we have the roles that we have when we have Scrum teams. Then it's team is one role, Scrum Master is one role, and Product Owner is one role if you're working in an Agile Scrum team. And when we talk about the team, of course, the team needs to have the competences to deliver on the mission that we have. So it might look different in different teams, right? Some teams need web analysis, some teams might need design, some teams need people who do content, and maybe DevOps and different things. So we have to focus and see what are the things that our team is actually taking ownership of, and what are the competencies and skills that we need, and can we grow those skills? So it might be that people in our team actually are interested in learning more about UX design, or we might bring someone in because we need that special competency in our team because we work very much front-end, but other teams might not. And if the design ops team helps all teams to grow this capability, then we might not need the specialist in the team. They might sit in that design ops team instead. So we have some real examples from organizations that have done this. So this is a fintech organization here in Sweden called Avanza, which we helped to form and find a new organization that was customer focused and based on the customer journey. So we helped people to break down the silos. It was the management from IT, products, and was it operations and marketing who came together as a leadership team and said that we want to do something about this, because they had project owners and product managers who were just so stressed. They were just doing handoffs to different internal teams all the time, and they were actually not delivering any value at all, and they could not focus on the customer. So they wanted to do something to change this. So we helped them to set design principles for the organization. So how should it feel in the organization? So one thing was that all teams should understand and meet with the user continuously. Everyone in the teams should know why we're doing what we're doing. So they had 6 principles like this. And then they evaluated different types of teams and organizations based on some trainings that we did. And they found that the way they were working then was really, really bad. You can see that on the top right image. And they chose to work in a customer-based organization with cross-functional teams instead, because they could evaluate that these principles and different things that they are usually delivering would be a much better fit for them. And then they also visualized the T-shape in all the people, and they created missions for teams. And the product owners did that, and the product owners pitched the missions for the teams, and people could go and choose which team they wanted to sit in. And they did 2 rounds like that in about 2 hours and created a couple of new teams. I think it was 5 new teams the first time. So that's a self-selection. And they made sure that they had UX and lean UX competency in all teams and bringing that up continuously. Yes, did we have a question or something? No?
Yeah, so we have one question regarding the presentation. Can you explain more about opportunity map?
Opportunity map, yes, okay, of course. So it's about looking at opportunities that you have to improve for the customer and the business based on the mission that you have in your team. So instead of having everything already put into details in the backlog, you look at this more like an impact map. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but you have a mission and you have different things that you think might help to improve on that mission. It could be improving for a specific customer, or it could be improving on a specific touch point, or it could be doing something continuously new. Just looking at a hypothesis on what will help you move forward and prioritize based on that. And then start to deliver on that continuously using feedback methods and prototype and testing them and see if your hypothesis was true or not. Okay? So this was the way of working that these people at Avanza had in their teams. They had opportunity maps. They worked with T-shape, and they had actually teams up to 10 to 11 people with Scrum Master, product owners, UX people, designers, developers for all different touch points. Because if they work as a customer journey team, they take responsibility for all touch points in that part of the customer journey. So they need people with more skills to join into the team. And of course, then they have to work with supporting the team and maturing the team to become high performing, which is super important. And this is another picture of afterwards when they presented this in a meetup where they have happy and empowered employees. They said that they wanted the teams to feel like startups, which is what you get when you do this. You get the mandate and the power to the teams to make actual business decisions based on customer feedback. So this is one of the people working in the organization saying that it feels like being in a startup. We know where we're going. We can decide in our team what to work on. And this is another team that's also in an agile mission, you could say. And these are the people in the team. They're in the Swedish radio organization. And you can see here also that it's a lot of people. So these teams usually get a little bit bigger. And these people have involved people from the organization. You can see that we have journalists in the team that rotates in to the team on a 2 sprint basis of 4 weeks, and then they move out, and then someone else comes in. And then we have 2 people working with web analytics. So we have UX. There's also a designer, which is not in the picture, an iOS developer, or actually 2, and a backend developer, and the Scrum Master and developer. So we have different types of competencies in this team, and they took responsibility for actually working on increasing the listening time across all different platforms and products. And they doubled the listening time when they did this work, which they have never, ever experienced that kind of result before. And they widened the audience with 50%, which led to this. So they did a lot of research with the users, usability testing, prototyping, and continuously releasing on all different platforms and measuring the results. So working as a team that I showed you before. So this was actually what I had. I'm so sorry it didn't really work out so you could see all my slides. But this is the final slide. So keep calm and get customer focused. That's my message. And I know you guys are really good at this. So I hope you got some value from this. Do we have any questions? Or should we take them later, right?
Yeah, we can take them later. We just had one question. So thank you so much, Mia. This was a very fruitful presentation. And now we'll take up few questions that you guys have filled. So Mia, starting with very basic questions. So can you, define what basically agile means and its benefit to the project industry and how to adapt it?
Okay. So I would say agile is about a mindset, and a mindset that you focus on delivering value. And a lot of times you collaborate, and you need to be able to adapt your plan. So trusting people and helping people out is core in the mindset, I would say. And if you work agile, then you minimize risks by changing the plan and adapting and continuously delivering value.
Great. So coming to our next question would be, how do you acquire and employ an agile mindset when you are in subordinate?
Subordinate, you mean someone, could you elaborate on that? What you mean with that?
Means someone who is not taking the full power. Someone working under.
So how you can get an agile mindset?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's all about the actions and you know how we live our lives and what we do, and that we will reflect and improve as individuals. So it really has nothing to do if you're a manager or not, and you can act as a leader and be good to people and truthful to yourself. So yeah, it's up to yourself.
Yeah. So next, coming to the third question would be, how do I motivate a team that works remotely in this global situation that can sometimes discourage them?
Okay, so how can I motivate people when working distributed?
Remotely,
yes, of course. So everyone's doing that these days. So of course that can be tough sometimes, but I think working with the social glue, getting to know the people that you work with and treat them as a team and support them to grow continuously and facilitate collaboration, I think that's a key. And of course, helping everyone to understand why we're doing what we're doing. So work with the purpose. So you have to work with these things even though you don't really meet because you meet online, and we need each other to deliver value. No one can do that as a silo. That's never going to happen in this world today.
Yes, like the way we are doing is sharing knowledge online.
Exactly. So that's a really good thing to do.
So next would be how to introduce an agility mindset in an organization from the scratch. How do you introduce it?
How to
introduce an agility mindset in an organization?
Okay, so how to get that started. Well, usually you work with tools and practices in the beginning. So you start to work agile, and starting to work in Scrum is a really good way because it's an easy framework to get started with, even though it's quite difficult to master. But it's a really good start to start with something like that and work together with your team and build your team. And then continuously, once you see that things are working, spread the mindset and the values and the principles across the organization, and then help people to adapt their way of working. I think that's a good way.
Great. So this would be a very interesting question for you. So how to work with the new generation?
The new generation. Okay,
Yeah.
so younger people. Well, I think trusting them and giving them, giving them space to learn and listen to them, because I think they have a really lot of things to bring to any organization and to any team. Of course, I know just my bonus son, he's 25, and he helped me with my website, WordPress, and he's just Googling everything and looking on YouTube, just handling everything, which I have no clue how to do, even though I set the WordPress site up and I worked with WordPress for like 15 years, but he learns in 2 seconds. So just, give them the assignments and help them to grow. They're going to bring a lot of good things.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And safe environment.
Yeah.
Everyone will fail like we did today, but you have to help them to grow.
Yeah, great. So next would be, how do you combine results for the company with the well-being of the team?
Could you take that one more time?
Yeah, sure. So how do you combine the result of the company with the well-being of the team? That the team should stay well and the results should come to the expected level. Balancing things.
So balancing the value for the company, you mean, and the individual.
Yeah, it means the individual value with the results that you want.
Yeah, the result of the organization. So I didn't have that in my presentation here, but we talk about transformational leadership. And if you grow people and you've removed the structures that are hindering them to deliver value, your business will grow. So always focus on growing the people, helping them to improve, and remove the hinders that hinders them from usually work with people in other silos. So bring them to a team and make them high performing and give them something important to do. Then your business value will grow. That's the only way to do it.
Great. So next would be, how should we establish a connection without physically being present?
Sorry, how can we establish a connection?
Without physically being present.
Oh, that's meeting like this on video usually is a really good thing, and collaborate, and maybe using collaboration tools. We use Mural a lot, and maybe playing games online, and we have fika where we drink coffee together and just socialize. So I think do that as much as you can, and pair work, and do mob work as designers and developers, and whatever you do, try to do it together.
Yeah, great. Next would be, what particular mindset is expected of today's leader? What do you think?
A growth mindset. There's nothing else. So instead of being fixed and maybe focusing on problems, and maybe that you can't solve these because you've done it in different ways before and you've tried that, it didn't work. So try to have a growth mindset and find new solutions and think in new ways.
Yeah, that's true. So, okay, next would be, in a bureaucratic organization where change is inevitably slow, how can agile be incorporated?
So this is the most ordinary organizations are like this, right? And I would say getting the executives on board as quickly as possible really helps, because they are the ones who have to change their way of thinking and their way of doing things to enable the rest of the organization to actually work agile. But if you can't get them on board, start with yourself. Get people who you need to collaborate with and sit with them. Like when I started to work as a designer, I was seated in the designer's room with everyone doing design on different projects. And it took me, I don't know, a couple months before I realized I can't sit here because I don't work with the other designers. I work with the developers. So I took my computer and sat side by side on a small desk with one of the developers. And then we had our first team. So try to do that and try to onboard the executives if you can. And show them that you bring value, and the customers actually are excited with what you do. If you can do that, then of course they will listen to you.
Great. So the last question we'll take it from here would be challenges you encounter with leaders before embracing an agile mindset.
Could you repeat, please?
So the people are asking that the challenges that you have faced, you have encountered with leaders before embracing an agile mindset.
Okay, yes, of course. So there's a lot of challenges, mostly with the middle management, because they get pushed from top, where maybe the executives want to implement agile, and maybe from underneath, where we have teams and people want to work agile. So they are usually in a very difficult situation, and usually they need to understand how they can support and work in an agile way. So you need to help them to grow this understanding and capabilities. Otherwise, they might be afraid, and they might want to stop whatever change is going on because they don't really understand how they can support and where they actually belong in this. So fear is something that you might see. And of course, that they might also just not get involved at all. They stay outside. They don't help the teams. They say, you guys are self-organized, so they don't really help the team and support them. And of course, they need to do that because people are self-organized, but they need support to do things. They should focus on delivering value to the customer.
Yeah, so true. So there's one question in the question tab, if you can check. So if you can check the question tab, the first question is, can you please elaborate on the term T-shaped people?
Okay, yeah. So T-shaped is something that we talk about because it's important. And to be able to work in a cross-functional team, then we need to have more than just our specific competency. So I have a design background, but I've also learned agile. I've also learned a little bit of WordPress, a little bit of this and that, and how to do videos and whatever, and leadership. So I've grown a big T-shape, you could say, and that's what everyone needs to do. And try to grow the things that you're interested in, something that you have intrinsic motivation in doing, and not think about you as just fitting into a box. So move outside of the box to help the team to deliver value. So then you could visualize your T-shape with things that you actually are good enough at, or things that you can help others to do, or things that you are good enough to do yourself and with support from others, maybe.
That's really great. I would also love to be a T-shaped person then.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, everyone out there in the chat is asking for your presentation. So would you mind sharing that?
Of course, I will.
So in the Actions tab, you can share it from Share a Media. There you can upload the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I do that now?
Yeah, so that our viewers can download it.
Okay. It is uploading now, but it will take maybe a while because I use so many images. So usually they get quite heavy. But now it seems like it's done. It's processing media.
Okay, fine. So Mia, we are wrapping up this session. And yeah. So well, we have, thank you so much guys for joining. We have reached at the end of this awesome session, and it was amazing to say the least. Thank you so much, Mia, for taking out your time, speaking to us, and sharing your so valuable presentation with us. I suppose it's sharing. Yeah. Now we can see that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
So yeah. And so guys, just for an information to all the business owners out there, Designhill has launched a non-profit initiative which aims to help small businesses at this time of pandemic. So we'll just share a link as of now, and you guys can check that out. Yeah. So here's the link Harshita shared, and it's an non-profit initiative taken by Designhill for the time of pandemic. And to get more updates over such events and such webinars, such fruitful webinar by these awesome artists, don't forget to check out our event page. Soon we'll share the link of the event page too. There you go. So this is our official event page where every event like this is updated. Thank you so much, Mia, for joining us today. And guys, you'll receive a mail after this where you can get all this presentation and the recording of the webinar. You can keep it, check it, rewind it, play it, and listen to Mia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mia, for joining.